Why don't we talk more about the real mystery behind Jake the dog, his parents, Joshua and Margaret? Sure, they come across as a loving, protective couple who raised Jake alongside Finn, but there's something more under the surface. Something darker and more mysterious. Their story is one of those pieces of Adventure Time lore that feels like it hides more than it shows.
Hey!
Jake wasn't born like any other dog. He wasn't even born like any creature in the Land of Ooo. He was created, and not in the usual sense. To understand Jake, we have to go back to the very beginning. The moment that changed everything for Joshua and Margaret. It all started with a simple adventure. Something they had done countless times before, but this one was different. Joshua, while investigating a mysterious dungeon, was attacked by a creature. But this wasn't just any creature. It was a shape-shifting, extra-dimensional being, something out of the deepest corners of Oo's weirdness. Joshua was bitten by this creature, and that bite wasn't just a wound. It was something more. Soon after, Margaret would give birth to Jake. Now here's where things get strange. Jake's powers, the ability to stretch, morph, and manipulate his body in impossible ways, weren't just random abilities. They were the direct results of that bite, of the creature's essence merging with Joshua's. Jake wasn't just a dog, he was something else, something otherworldly.
You're gonna have a crazy time.
But what does that mean for Jake's identity? What does it mean for how he sees himself and how his parents see him? Joshua and Margaret were adventurers, tough and brave, but they were also secretive. They never fully explained Jake's origins to him, brushing it off as if it was nothing, but we know better. There's no way they didn't realize Jake was different, that he wasn't just any other dog. But maybe that's why they never treated Jake like anything but normal, hoping he'd never ask too many questions. But the real question is, were they just trying to protect him, or were they afraid of what Jake might discover if he dug too deep?
That's Jake!
Imagine growing up thinking you're just a regular dog with some cool powers, only to find out that your entire existence is a result of some twisted fate. That's the dark reality Jake lives with, even if he doesn't fully understand it. Joshua and Margaret may have loved Jake deeply, but they were also the keepers of a secret that could unravel everything Jake thought he knew about himself.
A whole kazoo!
Let's dive into Joshua and Margaret's story, the story that's rarely told in full. Joshua, a bulldog, and Margaret, a tough and clever adventurer, were well known in Ooo as heroes. They fought monsters, explored ancient ruins, and solved mysteries. They were the kind of parents who would do anything to protect their family, and that's what they did when Joshua was bitten. But did they know what was coming? Did they understand the consequence of that bite? The creature that bit Joshua wasn't just a random monster. It was something ancient and powerful, something that wasn't supposed to exist in Oo's normal reality. When Joshua was bitten, it wasn't just a physical wound, it was a transfer, a mingling of essences that gave birth to Jake's unique abilities. But what if it was more than that? What if Jake is more like this creature than anyone realizes? Could it come back to reclaim what it owns? Or is Jake slowly becoming more like it over time without even knowing it?
Are you sure having him next?
Joshua and Margaret chose to keep this from Jake and Finn, probably thinking they were protecting them. But by keeping this secret, they may have also been protecting themselves. They may have feared what would happen if the truth came out. They may have worried that Jake would become something else, something they couldn't control. But in doing so, they left Jake with an incomplete picture of who he is, and that's something he might never fully understand. Think about it. Growing up, Jake never questioned why he was different. He accepted his powers as part of who he was. But what if he had known the truth? Would he have been able to handle it? Or would it have changed him, made him afraid of what he might become? Joshua and Margaret may have thought they were doing the right thing, but they also may have been hiding from the reality that Jake's existence is tied to something dark and mysterious. And what about that creature? We've never seen it again, but its influence lingers in Jake. It's part of his DNA, part of what makes him who he is. But that raises more questions. Did the creature know what it was doing when it bit Joshua? Did it choose him for a reason? And if it did, what does it mean for Jake? Is he destined to follow in its footsteps, to become something more or less than what he is now? Joshua and Margaret's love for Jake is undeniable. They raised him with care, taught him everything they knew, and made him the dog he is today. But love can also be complicated, and in their case, it was intertwined with fear. They feared what Jake might become, what he might discover about himself, and so they kept him in the dark, hoping that he would never have to face the truth. But in doing so, they left Jake with a legacy of mystery, one that he may never be able to fully understand. As Jake grew up, he became more than just a dog with powers. He became a hero, protector of Ooo, alongside Finn. But that shadow of his origins has always been there, lurking in the background. Jake's carefree attitude, his love of adventure, his loyalty to his friends, these are the qualities that define him. But there's also a part of Jake that is unknowable, something that even he doesn't fully grasp.
It's a dungeon. A proper dungeon.
Imagine what it would be like to discover that your entire life has been shaped by something beyond your control. Something dark and mysterious. That's the reality Jake lives with, whether he knows it or not. Joshua and Margaret may have thought they were doing the right thing by keeping the truth from him, but in doing so, they may have set him on a path that's far more dangerous than they realized.
Hey?
The relationship between Jake and his parents is one of love, but it's also one of secrets. Joshua and Margaret's decisions to keep Jake's origins hidden were driven by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of what Jake might become, fear of what they couldn't understand. But secrets have a way of coming to light, and the truth has a way of catching up to you, no matter how deeply you try to bury it.
It's not weird.
So who are Jake's parents really? They're more than just the loving guardians who raised him. They're also the keepers of a secret that could change everything Jake knows about himself. They're the ones who chose to protect him by keeping him in the dark, but in doing so, they may have also put him in more danger than they ever imagined. Jake's story is one of mystery, of unknown origins, and of a destiny that's still unfolding. The next time you think about Joshua and Margaret, remember that there's more to their story, something ominous and unresolved, lurking just beneath the surface. And if you're curious about how this connects to Jake's hilarious adventures, check out my video on Jake being the funniest character in Adventure Time. There's a lot more to uncover about this stretchy dog, and the more we dig, the more we realize that Jake's story is just as complex and mysterious as any other character in Ooo.